welcome the wonderful Fabien Dubois. Woo!
Hi, everyone. Nice to meet you. So, as Amy Lovely said, my name is Fabien, and I'm currently doing a PhD studying lasers. Now, I know the first thing that you think of when I say a scientist studying lasers is some sort of cartoon villain making giant death rays and maybe mounting them on a shark's head. Am I right? Well, I'm going to break that stigma and dispel that myth right now. We tried it and the sharks didn't cooperate. No one thinks of the sharks in this. They don't want lasers grafted to their brains. So in all seriousness, I work with micro lasers that are about the size of a grain of sand. So when I say that to people, the first thing they respond is it really that small? And then I get nervous flashbacks to my ex-girlfriend. Thanks for laughing. But at least this time when I defend myself by saying size doesn't really matter, I actually believe it. So can I get a quick show of hands? Does anyone know the name Tim Berners-Lee? Hey, 2 people. I'm actually impressed. So Tim is the man who actually invented the internet. Okay? So I like to think that he's, in modern days, feels a lot like Albert Einstein. So Einstein, as you all know, made some great scientific discoveries, but unfortunately it led to the discovery of the nuclear bomb. So great intentions, poor results. So Tim had this brilliant idea that he would make this system where scientists could share knowledge globally instantly. And now it's just a repository for cat memes and porn. Now, at least Einstein can defend himself and say, look, I had the Nazis to defeat. And boom, we've already confirmed what we call the rules of the internet. Has anyone ever heard of Godwin's law? Godwin's law simply states, any argument or discussion online will eventually degrade into someone mentioning Nazis or Hitler. So you can Google these. The rules of the internet exist, and they were written by like what we like to call the elders of the internet, or Urban Dictionary. Okay, another show of hands. Does anyone know what a telegraph was? Oh God. So a telegraph was essentially the first way of sending information long distances, very high speed. So essentially, a message was taken, it was transferred into electrical signals of beeps and dashes. Someone would be listening and then it would be translated. So that's how the modern fiber optic broadband works. Your computer receives a series of flashes of light, and that's how you get that really weird cartoon porn you Googled last night. And you know what? It's okay that you Googled it. You know, it's okay you clicked on that debaucherous filth. Because it is people like our dear Mike, was it? It is people like Mike that drive innovation. Why do you think we stopped using the telegram and invented the internet? People got tired of sexting over telegram. So can you imagine, it used to be someone's job to sit in the telegraph exchange and translate someone's filthy messages into a series of beeps. And then it would be someone else's job to hear those beeps and then translate into really dirty talk. It probably warped their brains a little. You can imagine that they'd probably become sexually aroused by anything beeping. So imagine them walking down the street and a truck starts reversing. It'd be like someone seductively whispering in their ear. Beep, beep, beep. So if the internet is powered by light, we of course need a light source. And that's why I study lasers. Why? Because, sorry, 2 seconds. We don't stand there with a flashlight and signal out what you're Google searching. So Mike, say you're on the internet last night. All of a sudden, Mike wants to Google homoerotic volleyball montage. Right? Someone doesn't stand there at the exchange and go, right, homoerotic volleyball montage. No, so lasers are very complicated, but I'm actually going to teach you something tonight. I'm going to teach you how a laser works. So within a laser, there are many processes happening. We have stimulated emission and spontaneous emission, okay? So I like to think of spontaneous emission a little bit like prepubescent wet dreams. You can't control it, it's messy, and depending on the person, can be quite noisy. Sorry. So then stimulated emission is the process that you want to encourage as much as possible, as long as there's consent. So to achieve stimulated emission, you must pump the laser really hard, full of electricity. Get your minds out of the gutter. And you don't pump it too hard, or else you'll have a problem with some saturation. And if you pump it really too hard, the laser could just blow everywhere prematurely, and you'll make a mess of the lab and have to go outside for a cigarette. So we use lasers in all kinds of arrangements in our research. So the one I particularly study is called the master-slave arrangement. Okay, so this is where one laser takes control of the other and forces it to do things. We have a safe word. We put a safe word in. So incidentally, I was at a conference last year, and a man stood up and he was looking at my results, and he said, well, it looks like your master is bumping the slave too hard and it's having problems with saturation. And he made sense, and no one called him a pervert. So the fact that the people who pioneered my research called it the master-slave arrangement means they're one of two things. They're extremely kinky, or they're British. Or a bit of both. And boom, we've just confirmed another rule of the internet. Does anyone know Rule 34? If you can think of it, there is porn of it. And I just made laser porn. Rule 34, thank you. So Rule 34 is very closely followed by Rule 35, which states, if there isn't porn of it, there will be soon. Coming soon to you porn near you. So I've probably over-glamorized my research to a certain extent up to now. You probably think it's all sex, BDSM, and failed animal experiments. Fucking sharks. So to show you how serious and how realistic the life of a PhD student is, I wrote this song for you. So is anyone here a fan of Johnny Cash? Give me a woo. I'm really sorry for what I'm about to do to his song. I call this the Deadline Blues. I see the deadline coming, it's coming around the bend, and I ain't seen the sunshine since I don't know when. I'm stuck inside the lab, and time keeps dragging on. I see the deadline coming, no more extensions. Sorry. Oh, no, I got this. When I was just a student, my lecturers told me, son, always aim for a PhD, it will be lots of fun. But I corrupted all my data by clicking on some spam. Fucking GDPR. When I saw that pop-up glowing, I hung my head and ran. If they freed me from this prison, if I could go back in time, I'd have taken stable employment. I'd even work overtime, far from uncertain futures, on a production line. And the bank might take me seriously when it comes to mortgage time. Thank you.